Welcome to the Metamorphosis Project Podcast, where we explore transformative journeys that shape our lives. In this episode, we're chatting with Rachel Veritimos. She is an evolutionary astrologer dedicated to helping people reconnect with their truest selves by unlocking the transformative power of astrology. With a grounded yet cosmic approach, she shows how understanding your birth chart can fast-track healing, empower self-awareness, and guide you towards your highest potential. In today's episode, we're going to chat about the astrological changes that are coming in for 2025, what to watch out for, what to be excited about, and what we may need to work through. Welcome, Rachel. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thanks, Tenya. I'm excited for this conversation too. Thank you for having me.
So I was looking for an astrologer to kind of give people I want to say a blueprint, because there's still free will, right? We still have choices that we can make to move things in somewhat of a different direction. But when I was looking for an astrologer, you happened to come across my page, and we'd never met before, but my gut instinct was just like, you just need to have her on, because she just seems like somebody who knows what she's talking about and is just willing to put it all out there. So thank you so much for coming on and accepting my invitation.
Thank you. Wow, I feel so honored that you had that gut feeling. And it's funny, even when you just said that you believe we still have free will, like that's my whole shtick with astrology, is that you're the empowered one. The planets never do anything to you. They're literally just energetic currents in the sky that you get to flow with.
Mhm.
Or you can resist them, and then life's a lot harder. But when you know what they are, you can learn the lessons from resisting them and actually flow into them. I always think about Nemo from Finding Nemo when he went to find his dad in Australia. He could have swam the whole way there, but he jumped in a current, and the current got
Right.
him to Australia faster. And that is what astrology can do for you. So,
Oh, I love that take on it.
yeah.
So tell us a little bit about how you got into astrology, and we'll just go from there. Like what guided you to go, oh, maybe I need to look into my own birth chart a little bit more, and then it took you where it took you.
Yeah, so I didn't used to believe in astrology at all. I'm a Taurus and I'm a very practical person and very like tangible reality. So I have been obsessed with personal development since I was 9. I was obese when I was 9. I didn't have any friends and I was in a lot of pain because I didn't know why I was obese and I didn't look like the other kids, why I didn't have friends. And so I learned about this weight loss camp and I begged my parents to let me go so I could be like the other kids. And I ended up losing 20 pounds in 6 weeks. And that kickstarted a 20-year eating disorder journey, where I did lose the weight and I did end up making friends, but then I associated weight loss with friends. I didn't have any self-love. So I got my degree in nutrition. I ended up studying nutrition from 9 until I was like 24, obsessively seeking food freedom, seeking that transformation so I could be like everyone else. And it was a long and grueling process because when you're obsessively studying something for 20 something years since you were
Mm-hmm.
9, and then you go to college and you think you're going to find your answer and then you don't find your answer. So then you get more degrees and more certifications. You get really distraught. You get
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
sad. And
Absolutely.
right. And you feel like it's impossible to actually change. Cue a really deep surrender that I had where I learned everything I could possibly learn and I realized the answer wasn't out there. So I just decided to stop researching nutrition and dieting and I started listening to my body, eating when I was hungry, stopping when I was full, eating as many whole foods as possible, organic foods, and within 3 months, my body weight finally stabilized at a weight that previously was so hard for me to maintain. And I was now maintaining it with ease without thinking. And it's like I finally got the thing I wanted, but it came through a deep surrender.
Right.
And so then I thought, well, if I can transform that, what else can I change? And I really wanted to transform my relationship with women. I didn't have a lot of friends growing up. And so I had a weird relationship with women. So I started attending a lot of women's retreats and doing all these different things. And I ended up in a lot of different coaching circles through these retreats. And everyone in these coaching circles would go to this astrologer in San Diego
Mhm.
named Pam. And so I decided to go to Pam because I had been attending a lot of retreats. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. Um, I thought maybe I wanted to host a retreat, but who was I to host a retreat? I had no clients, no retreat hosting experience, but I book a reading with this lady and she tells me about my past lives. She tells me about my South Node and my North Node, which is a big part of my practice today because I think it's so life-changing to know.
Mhm.
And through her telling me about my South Node, which is basically your past life, the gist I got was I had hosted retreats before. Like I had done something like that before. And so I took what she said as confirmation for what I felt in my heart that I really wanted to host a retreat. I was at my coaching mentor's house at the time, and he told me to write about having hosted this retreat as if I had already hosted it a year ago. So I did. And I read it to like 20 different coaches who were at his house, and I just got so pumped up. And to the point where when I got home, I didn't have a credit card. I asked my mom if I could put a retreat house on her credit card. She said yes, because she's the best. And in 1 month, I filled that retreat with 14 people. And
Wow.
it was life changing. Like that kickstarted me hosting 7 retreats in 2 years.
That is amazing.
Right. And so, in that, and I gained so much self love in that process because when you take a risk on yourself, when you learn you can trust that feeling,
Mhm.
it brings a lot of self love to your life. And so, in that moment, I was like, wait a second. I did this because of a birth chart reading, like
Right.
because of astrology. And before that, it had taken me 20 something years to have a leap like that, to transform in my life. Like this, and it was so hard for me to get to that surrender point where I just trusted. But astrology did that for me. And I really believe anything that connects you with that God within you, that God power within you,
Mhm. Yep. Because
it doesn't
it is within us. It's not outside of us.
exactly. I like that is your tool. Like I believe that, astrology might not be for everyone, but it's for me. And it's for a lot of the people that I work with and the
Mhm.
people that resonate with it. Because when you use it to connect with your God power as confirmation for what you already feel inside, you will continuously have those quantum leaps in your life. So I started studying astrology obsessively, just like I did with nutrition. I am an obsessive person and I learn things really quickly because I will study it from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed. And it's the only thing I'm thinking about throughout the day. So over the last 4 years, I became an astrologer very quickly and I got a lot of good feedback because my brain was just like made for it.
Right.
And I started hopping timelines or doing that same thing I did with my retreat, whatever you want to call that,
Right.
every 3 months. And it was because I was using the astrology to both inspire me, but also help me look for the lessons, what I'm not seeing, and where I need to grow and evolve.
Mhm. Okay.
And then it also has helped me surrender when I have a lot of fear and I don't know whether I can trust or if I'm resisting, if something feels really yucky and I just keep resisting it, it helps me learn the lesson there too.
Right.
Mhm.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
That's
So that's
very
my story.
Yeah, I
Astrology
love
helps
that.
you fast track your healing.
Yeah, it's so funny because I feel that way as an energy healer and a self-care coach. I feel that way about energy healing as well, is that the energy healing, or at least the energy healing that I do, it clears the past so that you can do more of the conscious work, more of the self-care work that we have so much resistance to, like journaling or meditating, that kind of stuff. And because when I was dealing with my own anxiety and depression and trying to figure out how to get rid of it, energy healing is what allowed me to get rid of enough stuff so that I could do all of the self-care things that I needed to do so that I could learn how to have my emotions again and how to manage the worry that would come up or the sadness that might come up, to manage all of that. Like with astrology for you, energy healing did that for me. And I think that there are so many different modalities out there for people to use to find their catalysts to their healing. And I love that there's not just one thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing within astrology too, is that I look at astrology more as archetypes, in that each archetype has limitless possibilities. You
Hmm.
never are put into a box.
Right.
And I imagine it's the same thing with energy healing, where energy healing opens you up to the limitless possibilities. It almost like takes your energy from constriction to more
Hmm.
expansion.
Yep.
And I think anything that helps you do that helps you connect to like the magic within you in the universe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, with that being said, what magic are we looking for in 2025?
Okay, I wrote a whole list that I wanted to go through because I was like, there's so many things. But have you seen the show Inventing Anna?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, for anyone on here who doesn't know Inventing Anna, it's on Netflix. Highly recommend. This girl, Anna, she basically like manifests herself as this badass, rich, millionaire, billionaire empress girl. And she has this vision that she wants to, like, this vision of this company or something that she wants to build. I don't know. It's been like a year since I watched it, but she has this vision and she's going around the world, like, just embodying this identity of a millionaire billionaire. And she did not grow up that way. She was like
Right.
a poor girl when she like, that's like how she grew up. She didn't know how to be that.
Hmm.
And she was kind of lying to people. So this is a part of the energy for the next year where we keep where we're anchoring into a new identity, and it can be a little confusing because we've never been this new person before,
Hmm.
and sometimes we can go a little too big into this new identity and get ahead of ourselves and think that we're this person, which she kind of did in this show. I'm going to go back to the show in
Right.
a second.
Right.
But basically in the show, she ends up getting millions of dollars. She's living a lavish lifestyle. Like, people are investing in her, they're supporting her, and it's because she is like tapping into her Delulu fantasy of like, this is who I am and this is what's happening, and so people are following suit.
Yep.
I don't know if I want to spoil the end for people, but I'll tell you basically, without trying to spoil too much of the end, she does manifest all these things. She is on her way to building this big company, but people start to realize she lied. She got a little ahead of herself. She kind of cut some corners. She didn't put all of the actual work in that you need to do
Right.
to be in alignment and in integrity with the person who has this big company that
Right.
she wanted.
Yep.
That is what this year is like. So,
Great.
yeah. Okay, and now I will go into how it will play out. So, first of all, the beginning of the year, the North Node will move into Pisces, and the North Node is a collective destiny point. So, the last couple years, the North Node has been in Aries. We have been moving into more of who we are and what we want, and asserting ourselves and separating ourselves from other people. So, we've been shedding Libra themes, which is the opposite of Aries. We've been shedding keeping the peace, being overly fair, disregarding your own needs for other people's needs, just being
Totally
over.
describing me
Yeah.
because I'm a Libra.
You're a Libra? Oh my
I
God.
am.
I'm a Libra rising with a Libra Jupiter, so I get the energy.
Yeah.
um, so we've been shedding all of those things and really getting to own who we are. Like, who are you and what is your self-concept? Before that, the North Node was in Taurus, and that's when everyone was getting into like homesteading and farming and
Yep.
getting your feet in the ground. So we can
Yep.
see these themes play out. They're real.
Okay.
When the North Node moves into Pisces, we are moving into really spiritual times. Pisces is a really spiritual, I know, it's a really spiritual sign. And so that means Virgo is going to be on the South Node. And Virgo is about practicality, what you can see. It's a lot of overthinking and like thinking that there's certain rules that we have to do in order to achieve certain things. When I think of Virgo, I think of how do I do it? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're releasing the how because we're entering into new territory where the hows are changing. You're making your own how. Just like in Anna and Inventing Anna, like did her own thing. She didn't
Hmm.
go the normal path. Now, the thing about Pisces energy is it is our self-sabotaging behavior as much as it is our manifesting energy. And we self-sabotage in Pisces energy when we live in fear, when we
Mm-hmm.
project onto others, when we forget that we're all one and that everything we get pissed about outside of us is actually happening inside of us. And then we end up sabotaging ourselves because we're trying to control outside of us when really there's
Right.
something inside. So these are all things to be aware of over this next year. Like if you're upset about something outside of you, it's a mirror. We're in like mirror FaceTime, like turn it back inwards. And the highest vibration of this Pisces energy is coming into unconditional love for yourself, for others. And it's
Mm-hmm.
surrendering. It's not needing things to go a certain way. It's finding the love in every lesson. That's one of the ways in which we overcome self-sabotaging behavior with Pisces is if you just loved whatever the fear is more,
Mm-hmm.
you can overcome that self-sabotaging behavior. Like if we think someone is a poop head for something that they did and that there's something wrong with them, they're not a good person.
Right.
Really, it's just because there's a part of us that we don't accept. So if we could bring more love and acceptance to them, then we
Mm-hmm.
can love and accept ourselves more, as within, so
Right.
without. And so there's going to be a lot of karmic endings for people over this next year where you're going to end patterns that might come from pain and realizing that it actually started from within you. There's going to be a lot of surrendering and letting go of
Mm-hmm.
control, letting go of needing to know the how. And there's going to be a big push to step into faith and likely lean on spiritual tools, lean on your daydreams and your visualizations. And it's this energy of dreaming big
Mm-hmm.
while we enter into the unknown. So this is like unknown, dream big. You might be a little confused over the next 2 years because we're finding our footing,
Right.
and like old reality. Virgo is also our lifestyle, our day to day. So like that's on the south node. We're shedding that. We're shedding our old day to day. Life's probably going to look very different in the next few years. And this is the beginning of it.
Yeah.
So one of the things that's also happening in the beginning of the year is we have a Mars retrograde right now. So, Mars is the planet of our willpower and how we assert ourselves and take action and what motivates us to take action. Throughout January, Mars will be in Cancer. And so we're going to be evaluating how do I take action based on how I feel? Like, am I taking, so Cancer is the sign of emotional security. It's what gives you that foundational security, that feeling of home in your body. And Cancer wants to feel safe. And sometimes if we don't feel safe, we'll react impulsively from our emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to be reflecting on that. Like, where am I acting from scarcity? Where am I acting and trying to get my needs met and trying to grasp onto control outside of me? Where am I starting fights with people because I'm taking things personally? Cancer can take things personally.
Right.
And all of these things are going to be part of this beginning surrender. We're going to be reflecting on, am I really taking action from my heart? From what's connected to what feels good to me.
Mm-hmm.
So often when we build towards our dreams and build towards our goals, we disconnect from our heart because we think that there's just certain rules we have to follow. You just got to get it done. Like that's very Saturn energy.
Right. Okay.
Um, so we're kind of in this world that values discipline right now. And what I think is going to happen over the next year is we're going to learn to be more in devotion. How is devotion different than discipline? Well, I think about a relationship. If you were to think about two people who are disciplined in a relationship, that's that couple that just like doesn't really love each other. They just go through the motions. They just do the things they need to do for each other. And it's a very cold home environment. That's like
Right.
the low vibe of Saturnian energy.
Right.
Whereas devotion would be that couple who loves each other. And so they do things for each other out of love. Like maybe the wife makes sourdough and cooks for their dinner for their husband every night. But if the wife's feeling absolutely drained, then they're not going to cook for their husband that night. And the husband would understand. Or maybe the
Right.
husband wouldn't
Right.
understand. In the devotion, they love each other enough to figure it out with each other,
Right.
to grow
Right.
and evolve with it. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean by we're going from discipline to devotion this next year. We're
Mm-hmm.
connecting more to how we feel. Like, what do you
Right.
really need? What are you really reacting from emotionally? Because usually when we react emotionally from something, it's because we need a need to be met.
Right. Right.
So I feel like that's a big part of the beginning of this year is kind of sorting through a lot of these weird emotions and surrendering and learning how to connect to ourselves and what our heart really wants. Um,
There's
and
so
then,
many people that I hope can do that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's why
absolutely.
I said it's a very spiritual time and like
Yeah.
leaning on energy healers like you, and leaning on spiritual teachers, leaning on faith and spiritual concepts
Hmm.
is going to be so important because that's what's going to really help you these next 2
Yeah,
years, I imagine.
absolutely.
I'm sure like a podcast like this would be very helpful to people, you know? Um, so then we have a Venus retrograde happening too. So we're going to be reevaluating our self-worth, our values, what we value, our relationships. Um, we're going to be evaluating our relationships and whether they're really in alignment with our heart or whether we're self-sacrificing ourselves, like whether we feel this need to overgive.
Hmm.
So like I said, it's all of these energies really helping you connect to what do you need emotionally and take responsibility for what you need because we're figuring out who you are over
Right,
this next
right,
year.
right,
And it
right.
starts with the foundation.
It always starts with us.
Yeah. Yeah, and the
But
emotions.
right, but this is going to trigger a lot of people who are not ready to do that work. Because people are going to start saying, you know what, if you can't allow me to heal, if you can't allow me to um essentially put myself first, which being a self-care coach, I'm like, we are our first job.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds like that's where the next couple years is going, is people are going to realize that they are their primary job and they need to take care of themselves first so that they can have that devotion to others.
Mm-hmm.
But in the interim, you're going to have those people who are saying, "Oh, wait a minute, you're not devoting to me anymore." And
Yeah.
it's going to trigger a lot of people to be like, you're leaving me behind. And it's like, we're not trying to leave you behind, but you're not coming with us. There's a difference.
Yes. So this is what I mean by like Pisces can be really painful.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by karmic endings. When you end a self-sabotaging behavior, like an abandonment wound for a
Yeah.
second, for
Yep.
example, like if your fear is that you're abandonable and you act that out in your life and you don't want to put yourself first, like this is an opportunity for you to give yourself that love and to not abandon yourself and end that pattern. And you're right, like it takes a lot of strength. I believe everyone on this planet has that strength within them, even if right now you're listening and tell yourself you don't.
Hmm.
I know you do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And, we're in Pluto and Aquarius. This is a time of finding your group. And also, like, some people will be kicked out of groups over the
Hmm.
next year. That
Yep.
could be part of it too, because Pluto's in Aquarius. Aquarius is groups. Pluto will kick you out so that you
Yep.
can find your new group and find who's really going to support you in reaching your hopes and dreams?
Yeah. Find your tribe.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be super important over the next year. So, like, that's part of finding out who you are because when you can anchor into who you are, you're going to be able to figure out, like, start to figure out what tribe you want to be a part of.
Right.
Maybe you'll be the one who attracts the tribe. Who
Yep.
knows?
Absolutely.
Um, so then in March, also Neptune is going to move into Aries until October 2025. So Neptune is a generational planet. Neptune rules Pisces. So it's going to rule the north. It rules the north node. It's like whatever Neptune is doing is a big part of the collective destiny. So when Neptune moves into Aries, we're starting to dream up who do I want to be? Like what are my
Hmm.
big dreams? Where do I want to head? How do I want to see myself? I'm really into self concept work and using self concept work to shift your life and really anchoring into like how you think about yourself. It's all you have to focus on. All you have
Hmm.
to focus on is how you think about yourself, and the outside will naturally start to congregate to reflect how you think about yourself. So I just want to name that right now. Um, in my pod match, I think you have my free Activate Your Joy challenge. If you download that, my first two videos, I teach you how to do self concept work. And I just think that's so huge for this next year.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Those will absolutely be in the show notes.
Perfect. Okay. So when Neptune is in Aries, it can be really good in moving you towards this vision, these hopes and dreams that you have, and you embodying this new version of you. But it can also make you a little more too grandiose, like a little. This is the part of in Inventing Anna where she goes a little too big and sees herself as this person and kind of goes against the rules. So, and keep in mind, Saturn, which is about our rules, is going to move into Aries. So Saturn's going to put on the brakes and be like, listen, there's rules here. You
Right.
can't just like.
You can't just willy-nilly.
Yeah, you can't just be like, yeah, I'm a billionaire, and then start walking down the street and like bossing everyone around and like, I don't know,
Right.
just disregarding the structures we currently have.
Right.
I mean, also, I will say though, over these next few years, our hierarchical structures are also crumbling. So as you're finding out this new version of you, our hierarchical structures in society are finding out new versions of them. And so it's happening on a bigger scale also.
Yeah.
But yeah, a big part of Neptune being in Aries is also where we're going to be overly impulsive and where we might even start arguments and fights because we're projecting our things onto people. Because remember, Neptune is our confusion. It can be our delusion for good or for bad. And so it can be a time where you're like, almost allowing like what you think other people think about you take too much of a hold on you and bring you down to the bottom of the ocean. That's what Neptune can do. Neptune can bring you to the bottom of the ocean, but it can also bring you to the heights of heaven. And really, I think in the second half of the year, a lot of people are going to have a lot of opportunities to have breakthroughs in their mindset to swim to the heavens instead of staying down into the ocean. So yeah, we're going to be really reflecting on where you act impulsively. But here's the other thing. If you've had a hard time breaking into a new identity, Neptune and Aries will help you.
Okay.
Because Neptune dissolves boundaries. So if you see yourself a certain way and it's been so freaking hard to see yourself a different way, Neptune can help you dissolve those boundaries of how you currently see yourself. But it can also kind of get confusing between you and other people. Is the other thing because it dissolves boundaries. So you might, part of finding the new identity again is connecting to what feels right to you. But when you're out and about, you could see someone else doing something that seems fun and you want to be that identity. And then you could try to be that identity only to block yourself and realize that wasn't really true for you. But
so more some imposter syndrome coming in for some people.
Yeah, imposter syndrome. Trying to figure out who you are through comparing yourself to other people.
Yeah.
So I would say, especially because the North Node in Pisces, Pisces really thrives with alone time and having energy, like almost taking your energy away from everyone else and having a lot of reflective periods just in your own bubble. That's going to be super helpful for you over this next year. Take that alone time. Because in May, that's when Saturn is going to move into Aries, and that's when some boundaries are going to start being put on, some blocks are going to start to be put on your new identity. You can start feeling really critical of yourself. I'm not going to lie, especially because Saturn in Aries is going to be traveling with Neptune in Aries. Saturn is the sign of our inner critic, and Saturn wants to, it's that grandfather energy that wants you to mature and it wants you to own your authority, but it will do it kind of in like an inner critic way and like a irresponsible, you got to do this. Like, it motivates you through discipline, which again is not the highest expression of Saturn, but that's how we will motivate ourselves into becoming this new person is we can like critique ourselves. Like you have to be this person. So be easy on yourself. That would be the lower vibe of Saturn moving into Aries. The highest vibration of Saturn being in Aries with Neptune is dreaming yourself into this new identity while also putting the work in to take action to become that new identity in your life. So with the Inventing Anna example, she could have like not lied to people right out. You know what I'm saying? Like, so lying to people can get you in trouble. Like that is not going to help you step into this new identity, but actually putting in the work to see yourself as that person. Like I'm this person because I do these things. You know, again, your self-concept, when you see yourself as a certain person, you start to act like that person out in your life. You can't just see yourself as that person and then just sit back and do nothing.
Right.
And then at the same time be like, I'm not really that person, but I'm just going to fake it to everyone. Like, that's not you putting the Saturn work in. The Saturn work in
Right.
is you really becoming that person while
Yeah.
dreaming of this future of you and allowing that self-concept to guide you into new actions. And people who do that, you're going to get rewarded by Saturn, because Saturn rewards you putting work in. And it also rewards you when you recognize that every time you're criticizing yourself, that's just a sign to love yourself more, especially
Mhm.
with Neptune in Aries, being with Saturn in Aries, and Neptune is the planet of unconditional love. That's really going to help you. I would say from May, well, I think they're going to be together. When are they going to be together? Um, I think through October-ish, they'll be together, September or October. And that's going to help you because you're going to be able to meet that inner critic with love, which is the key to you anchoring into that self-concept.
Okay.
If we criticize who we are, we're not
Right.
going to manifest it out. Like attracts like. That's a
Right.
big lesson, especially with the North Node being in Pisces. Just remember, what you motivate yourself from is what you'll get. So
Right.
motivate yourself with love.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. I tell my kids that all the time. You want more, stuff to be grateful for to come into your life. Be grateful for what you already have.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I think that is what a lot of people in the highest vibration of the North Node in Pisces will learn over the next 2 years.
Yeah.
And then we have Jupiter moving into Cancer in July. So I just talked about Mars retrograde in Cancer, how it's going to be connecting us with our emotions and what we truly feel and need. Jupiter in Cancer is helping us grow in our sense of security and grow in our sense of home and feel at home more within ourselves. And also within the area of life that Cancer rules in your chart. So in every single person's birth chart, Cancer rules a certain area of your life, just like Aries rules a certain area of your life. So this new
Mhm.
identity you're building is around a certain area of your life. So it goes a little bit more complicated. These are more general horoscopes. I just want everyone to
Right.
understand that.
Yeah.
But with Jupiter and Cancer, we're learning how to gain luck through connecting to our intuition, gain luck through connecting to what feels like home. It's helping us bring in almost like what things from the past, because
Hmm.
Cancer is connected to our past and almost like our childhood. Also, if I think about like what you did as a child, bringing more of that back into your life, bringing more of those things that make you feel like home. I feel like a lot of people are going to start businesses over this next year or do something that's more connected to their heart and what makes them feel like home. Because I imagine like going to a 9 to 5 job doesn't feel like home every day. So that's what
Right.
that's what I kind of mean by you're going to grow and expand in your sense of home. Like you're bringing more of home into
Into
your
your
life.
life. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's almost like we're learning that connecting to ourselves emotionally has wisdom in it. With Pluto in Capricorn, Pluto was in Capricorn since 2008. It's now out of it. And we always really reap the gifts from Pluto leaving a sign the 3 years after it
Hmm.
leaves. And so one of the shadow sides of Capricorn we talked about was discipline. And what I think is going to happen over these next 3 years is we're going to use this Jupiter and Cancer energy to connect to what our heart wants so that we can be in devotion with everything that we do. So that's going to help you there. But also what's going to happen in July is Jupiter and Cancer will square Neptune and Saturn and Aries. So Cancer likes to stay in its comfort zone. What makes us feel emotionally safe isn't necessarily new things and
Right.
becoming a new person. And
Right.
so that's going to be a big part of what you might feel around July is you're becoming this new version of you. You're putting work in to become this new version of you. And oh my God, it feels like you want to vomit. It does not feel comfortable. It's like super confusing. It's like confusing. Am I taking this personally? Okay, I have to put some Saturn work in. Okay, I have to love myself more. What do I really? It's like this energy of fighting what has always made you feel safe in
Hmm.
order to pioneer a new path.
Okay.
And so The ask here, I would say, is how can you pioneer this new path in a way that's so connected to your heart, so connected to passion that it's almost like the passion drives you forward? Sometimes I think we're so afraid to sit in the unknown that we just keep taking action, and that's what Neptune and Saturn and Aries is going to want to do. It just wants to take action. It's like, I
Right.
just want it now. Come on, let's just keep going. And then like Jupiter and Cancer is like, hey, you're kind of like you're taking action from these anxious feelings of wanting it now, and so we're blocking you right now. And so that could be that square of just like this. It's a lot of tension, is what a square
Mhm.
is. So just know you could feel tension in July. The best thing is just constantly ask yourself what you need and what would make you feel more at home as you become this new version of yourself. Like,
Gotcha.
how do you need to talk to yourself? How do you need to see yourself? Maybe you're doing something that you think you need to do because Saturn in Aries is breaking a lot of old rules. Like, maybe you're starting a business and you think you have to market on Instagram and you hate being on Instagram. It makes your emotions feel absolutely horrible, but you think that has to be part of this new identity. That could be an example of how you feel
Okay.
around this time. Um, and then this is exciting. So Uranus is this revolutionary planet. Uranus actually rules Aquarius. Uranus causes shocks and surprises. It causes breakthroughs in technology. It's what moves us forward. Like, think
Mm.
about the technological revolution and how
Mhm.
everything was so different. Like, the first iPhone broke, the phone game. That is Uranus. It is groundbreaking. When it moves into Gemini, Gemini is our mindset and how we think and how we communicate.
Mm.
So this is like,
Technology and communication.
yeah, so this is like genius breakthrough.
Yeah.
This is
Wow.
like, and it's gonna be like these like flashes of insights that we get with Uranus and Gemini. It's gonna be highly inventive. It's gonna be July through November. Then it's gonna move back into Taurus for a little bit at the final degree. And while Uranus has been in Taurus, we've been having breakthroughs in simplifying our lives. So that's a big thing over these next few years. We've been pushed to simplify. We've
Hmm.
overcomplicated life. Like, think about all these bills we pay and all these little things that we have to do, like all the mail you get. It's so
Right.
overcomplicated.
Yeah.
We're going to likely be turning back to nature when Uranus moves back to Taurus the last quarter of the year, really anchoring in new values because Taurus is our values. So we've been breaking free in values for the collective and our values for humanitarian causes. So, all things to keep in mind. Uh, And when Uranus moves into Gemini, July through November, it's going to be in a slight trine with Pluto in Aquarius. So Pluto in Aquarius is also having us transform technology, and it's having us transform almost like the structures of society. Because Pluto in Capricorn had, like, we have the World Health Organization, right? Like, we have how health insurance is set up and how the banking system is set up. I have a feeling a lot of that is going to crumble over these next few years. And especially with Uranus moving into Gemini, Gemini could be contracts. What could happen with certain people is as these structures crumble over the next year, you could have certain contracts with, I don't know, like a financial contracts with credit card agencies that now this credit card agency is no longer and the contract is just null and void and now you don't have to pay
Right.
your debt back or something like that.
That would be amazing for a ton student loans. Let's just crumble the student loan system.
Yeah, like that could totally be
Yeah.
it though, because Gemini is school and learning, right?
Yep.
It's right. Um, Schools could crumble, and it's like you're not doing student loans and sending people to schools anymore. It could be a whole
Right.
new way.
You're going back to learning on the job.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this Pluto in Aquarius trine Uranus and Gemini could be a whole new revolution of how we do schools, like
Right.
homeschooling and things like that. I actually
Yeah.
know a lot of people moving towards that right now. So we're going to have breakthroughs in all Gemini things. This is also like cars and transportation because Gemini is cars and transportation. We could all be moving to electric cars, for example, because Uranus is electricity and so is Aquarius.
Okay.
Um, I don't know. It could be moving to something I probably haven't even thought about yet
Right.
because that's the thing
Electric
about
rollerblades.
Yeah, like that's the thing about Uranus and Aquarius is I could try to predict till the cows come home, but there are just things my brain has never seen before that I
Right,
couldn't
right.
possibly tell you.
Yeah, yeah.
Aliens could become a lot more of a thing over this next year.
Oh gosh, they're already here. They're
They
already
are.
here.
They are. Totally, totally. But like we're talking about like society is like death
Right.
and rebirthing, and then we're thinking
Yep.
about we're changing and how we think about things. Like our reality's changing.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, like if you think about 500 years ago, their reality, if they saw a reality today, they'd be like, what? You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so exciting to like be in a state where you can be aware, you can like see all of this stuff. Like I know like, 200 years ago before all electricity and all this stuff, people were scared of advancements. But I think that the generations that are coming up now, most of us are excited for things to shift and to change and to get back to a simpler but comfortable life.
Yeah, that's what I feel like this Jupiter in Cancer with the last quarter of the year when Uranus moves back into Taurus, I feel like it's going to be really solidifying that we want simple
Hmm.
and we just want to go back to the basics, and that's going to make us feel
Right.
emotionally secure and safe. And
Yeah.
that it's actually the overcomplication that has made people feel unsafe.
Hmm.
Um,
Absolutely.
everyone says, "Oh, it's because we're not running from tigers and bears anymore." It's like, no, we've also just overcomplicated our lives.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. Yeah. We really don't have to be working 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
We don't. Like we can get most jobs done in 20.
Yeah. And if you think about like a lot of the laws, like
Hmm.
laws are overcomplicated.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to be simplifying laws potentially the second half of
Right.
the year because a lot of them are just going to be having it's almost as these structures dismantle and we realize how overcomplicated everything was, it's just going to all crumble and simplify and
Right.
move.
Right.
Um, in August and September, Neptune and Aries will sextile Uranus and Gemini. So a sextile is a really harmonious aspect. And this makes, when I said we're having these breakthroughs in our thinking and in our mindset and how we communicate and how we use technology, there is going to be something with that related to how you see yourself. You're going to have breakthroughs around how you see yourself around this time, breakthroughs around how you look at yourself within society,
Hmm.
and it's likely going to come because you've been like molding yourself into connecting with your intuition and your heart. And so
Hmm.
what happens when we connect to our intuition and our heart and we surrender some of the old rules we've kept on ourselves and we allow ourselves to step into the unknown, that's where all the magic happens,
Right.
is we can have these breakthroughs, these like aha moments. And that's a big part, I would say, in the fall that we have this opportunity for. So the more you step into the unknown this first half of the year and start to honor your feelings and take responsibility for your feelings, you're really setting yourself up for the second half of the year.
Okay.
Um, the cool thing too is that when Saturn in Aries sextiles Uranus and Gemini, this is likely going to be part of creating those new structures within society. And that could be, again, part of where those old contracts crumble. So it could be like, okay, now crypto is our main form of currency. So you're going to have to close your bank out and you're going to have to move all your money to crypto. And then, like, it could be something like that, just
Right.
something
Right.
so, just a new structure being built as an old
Mhm.
structure goes away.
And so people are so scared of money going away.
Yeah.
But money has changed so much over the centuries.
Yeah.
So it's going to change again. Like you can't stick with the same value, I guess.
Hmm.
For centuries and centuries. It's going to change. It's gone from, like just change. It's gone from chickens to change to paper. So I mean it's going to change. And
Yeah.
we have to be willing to accept those changes and evolve with them. Makes it much easier.
Yeah, and then sometimes we can also bring things in from the past as we evolve
Yeah.
too.
Let's go back to chickens.
Yeah, I think we are going back to chickens with all the home, like ever since the North Node is in Taurus.
Yeah.
I feel like that could be part of our future is now we're bringing in some of the simplicity of the past
Yep.
and melding with like the technology of the future because
Yeah. I will take chickens for sessions. Absolutely.
right?
Fill my freezer.
Yeah, maybe we'll move to more bartering times. That actually would make
I,
sense to me.
I am fine with bartering. Like I am okay with that.
I mean, to me, like Pluto and Aquarius is a very much a, I feel like more bartering energy.
Hmm.
It's more
Yeah.
like how can we come together as a collective and help one another rather than like
Absolutely.
I'm your CEO, you answer to me. It's like no, we're all. It's
Yep.
really recognizing everyone's importance.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I really have for this year. That's like the big high level picture looking at a lot of the generational planets. But I felt like this past year was a lot of shadows coming out and like seeing like some of the darkness like
Hmm.
escape so that we're like, oh, there's a problem. And now
Right.
it's like, okay, now the problem is crumbling a little bit because that was a freaking problem. And now it's new stuff bubbling up and
Hmm.
emerging. If we look at numerology, this coming year is a collective year 9. So that's endings. And then
Right.
as we end, usually new beginnings. It's like all wrapped into one, an ending that starts a new beginning.
Hmm. That's awesome. It's very exciting. I think even, good or bad. Um, I think that having having that perspective of it, it's the year of you is what
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like. It's the year of you. It's learn to feel your feelings again and learn from a vibrational standpoint. What
Mm-hmm.
is it that you need to thrive in that year and potentially moving forward the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, it's like a year of trusting how you feel
Yeah.
or owning how you feel and
Yeah.
being
And,
like,
and how empowering is that, especially for the younger generations?
mm-hmm.
Um, or for those of us who are teaching the younger generation to encourage them to listen and trust your inner gut. I
Yeah.
mean, I have my daughter and daughter-in-law are due with a baby in April, and I am so excited to see that generation grow. Not just my kids, but the next generation coming from my kids. Um, just how different that is going to be to my grandparents, parents, and us. Just my mind is just like,
Totally. Well, there's so much like wisdom,
yeah,
every generation. And so now it's like, oh, we went a little too hard into the mental stuff and being in
right.
our heads. And so now we get to integrate it all. And so it is so exciting to see, when you start practicing that with people
Yep.
from such a young age, like
Yeah.
where are they going to go,
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Sometimes I wish I could go back and have my kids all over again. And I don't. I'm done with having children. But just to be able to impose some of that knowledge I now have when they were younger. They're still
Mhm.
learning from me as adult children, but just it would just have been, I think it just would have been taken differently.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about that with so many different things in our
Yeah.
life. And that's one of the things I also want to say when Jupiter moves into Cancer while the North Node is in Pisces, I actually want to warn people you might be thinking about the past and beating yourself up for the past.
Right.
And that is a cue for you um, to stop doing that, number one.
Hmm.
then number 2, realize that your energy and your excitement for the future is what's going to propel you into continuing to create the magic. Because it's going to be really easy to do what you just said about reflecting on the past and then
Yeah.
wanting that. Because Pisces will have you do that, and then Jupiter and Gemini will have you do that.
Yeah.
So you will grow and expand by redirecting and moving forward. But if you do it, don't beat yourself up.
Right. You're right. You can think about the past, but don't put too much weight, heavy weight into it. Look
Yeah.
at the past as you had lessons, and look at where you are now from those lessons, and where can you go?
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you think of the what ifs, what if everything works out?
Yeah.
Don't
What if
worry too much about it not working out, but what if it does work out?
what if everything that's ever happened in your life was actually so perfect, like the most perfect thing that was supposed to happen?
Yep, absolutely. I think I used to hate that word perfect,
Mm-hmm.
but over the last year, I've come to realize that the word perfect, by its definition of no flaws, um, it's no flaws that somebody else sees.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all perfect. We are all perfect as we are. Because if we're not, then who says you have flaws?
Yes, actually, you just hit on another good thing for this next year with the Pisces projection thing is realizing that and also Virgo on the South Node, I think we'll be learning this lesson, that if we judge other people or we don't allow other people to have flaws, it's only because we don't allow ourselves to have flaws. And the more you can accept other people and their
Mhm.
flaws and love them for those flaws, then, oh my God, you just gave yourself a gift because now you don't
Right.
have to be that way.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we have flaws. I just think we have growth.
Yeah. And
We have
acceptance.
places we can grow, but I don't
Mhm.
see them as flaws, because flaws would mean you're not willing to grow.
Yeah. I look at them as lessons of love. Like
Yeah.
we're here to learn lessons about love, and that's
Yeah.
all they are.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So Rachel, where can people find you to get their own readings, their own astrological birth chart read?
Yeah, well, I just quit the Instagram matrix in October. So now I'm having a website currently be built for me that will be up soon. But you can go to my birth chart reading link, which I can send to you. I think you might have it already, but I can send it to you.
I'll double check.
Okay. So you have a birth chart reading link, and then you can also check out my podcast. It's called the Astrology Magic Podcast.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Wonderful. And I will definitely, all of that stuff will be in the show notes. And if you guys, I have had my birth chart read before, and I need to go back and rewatch the videos from the lady who did mine. But I highly recommend that you guys do this at least once a year. How often do you recommend getting your birth chart read?
It kind of depends on the person because it depends if you're like an overly obsessive, controlling person. I don't think it's good to have your birth chart read like every month, for example.
Right.
But you could really get your birth chart read every quarter. And I think that could be a really good way to get yourself on track, at least every year. I'm really big into solar return readings and getting your birth chart, your birthday birth chart read each year
Mhm.
because it is so life-changing when you understand the lessons in your solar return and then you can place that as your intention for the year ahead.
Okay. Awesome. Well,
Mhm.
listeners, make sure you reach out and get your birth chart done, because it is so cool to see your life from the perspective of the stars and the planets.
Totally.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Rachel,
having
thank you.
me.
Thank you so much for coming on,
Yeah, this was such a good conversation. Thanks for having
and
me.
happy 2025.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Metamorphosis Project Podcast. I hope today's episode brought you inspiration, joy, and a spark of empowerment. Remember, transformation is an incredible journey, and every step you take towards self-care and healing brings you closer to a life you truly desire. If this episode uplifted you, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support helps us to share this journey of hope, resilience, and joy with many more listeners. For tips, support, and inspiration, come and visit us at designyourexistence.com. Until next time, keep growing, keep healing, and keep shining brightly. You are absolutely worth every bit of love and care you put into yourself. Take care, stay joyful, and be well.